All right, welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to yet another Earnings Lottos Power Hour Live. I'm your host, Pete. As you know, for the next hour or so, we'll be using earningslottos.com to find the highest quality, the best earnings movers that report this afternoon and tomorrow morning. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that you like this kind of stuff and it is working for you. That is the bottom line here. I know I have made some pretty successful trades over the past 3 weeks since we've done these lives. So I appreciate the interaction, the comments, everything, because your comments and your ideas help me, and hopefully my ideas and my commentary help you. So without further ado, let's jump into what we have for today. First of all, if you joined the live yesterday and you heard me talking about Braze or Chewy, pat yourself on the back if you took those calls. We definitely talked about taking a Chewy strangle and a Braze strangle skewed to the call side. So hopefully you had calls there. Hopefully you had more calls than puts, and hopefully you made money. I was very apprehensive, as you know from the live call. I did not take those, but that is why all I do here is provide you the info. I am not the self-proclaimed best trader in the world, but what I am good at is gathering all the data and then displaying it for all of us so that we can find the highest quality stuff. So Braze made, let's look at Braze really quick. Braze made a 10% plus move, so 18% move there, which is awesome. And then Chewy also made a 10% plus move. I think at one point it was at 27 earlier today. So those stocks will get their EL score increased for next quarter, and I look forward to trading them next quarter. This afternoon, we don't have that many this afternoon and tomorrow morning. So if we really, because like you've seen here, I'm very picky. If we can't find anything that just screams quality setup, honestly, Braze and Chewy yesterday, both of those screamed quality setups. If we can't find anything like that for today, then I think it's a good day to fade. There's maybe two stocks that I can just think of off the top of my head that I'm interested in for today. But I will be totally fine not trading any earnings today because there are a couple tomorrow that I think are pretty good quality setups too, and that have a good consistent move history. So the first one we will look at is this healthcare company, Celcuity, Celcuity. I don't know how to pronounce that. CELC Kelk. Looks like they are a clinical stage biotech pursuing development for oncology. So a cancer research company here. 108 for the share price, pretty good. That gives us a $10 move, about $10 move up or down. So probably looking at like 120 calls or maybe just under 95 Ps. Decent expected move, which helps its EL score, gets over 50, but I don't like that it has only done two 10% plus moves in the past 2 years. That is definitely a gamble in that regard. Narrative Intel is interesting. It does look like they have a lot of cancer drugs in FDA research phases. Sorry, I'm just reading this as I talk out loud. So definitely a buy and hold into July. So yeah, we'll read the narrative intel. So it seems like Kelk is a buy and hold into July story more than an earnings play. But any updates on NDA progress, enrollment, or discussions will move it. Decent revenue expected, real clinical data, real catalyst window approaching. So maybe this is one to keep an eye on earnings. And then if those are good, maybe position for FDA results, maybe late spring, early summer, it looks like. I kind of like trading those biotechs and those stocks that react off of FDA stuff. I traded ALDX puts very recently and was very pleased with the result on those as they tanked like from $5 something to like 80 cents overnight. It was crazy. So I do like those biotech FDA catalysts. I'm going to keep this one on the back burner. I'm probably not going to trade it for earnings, but definitely going to keep this one on the back burner as an idea for something to trade spring into summer. This 135 call that's showing up here on earningslottos.com, I think it's too far out of the money up. It's 25% out of the money up. This does have monthly expirations, so anything you buy here, it looks like, is expiring on April 17th. Um, Decent volume, decent open interest on a stock that's like this, but I think that's too far out of the money up. I think they're probably sold, but that's a pretty expensive contract to sell on the bid. Um, I don't really care enough to do more research into this as far as like the options positioning goes. It's only a 2 out of 8 mover, so I don't really think it warrants doing too much due diligence on it. I think if it were like a 6 out of 8 mover, then it would be worth going into the details and the weeds, so to speak. But I would just guess that these are sold, and the 100p showing up being much closer to the current share price, a little higher of a contract price, right? $5.90. These are probably bought. So if I had to guess, these are probably Kelk shareholders, right? Hedging, maybe buying close to the money puts, maybe selling out of the money calls, and just holding their shares. That's just kind of what I'm guessing, just looking at this. But I think it's a safe fade, but one to keep in the back of your mind for maybe spring summer as FDA catalysts affect Kelk. So I think Kelk is a safe fade, but definitely one to keep an eye on after earnings. Beyond Meat, this is the one of the craziest stocks that I can think of. This used to be in the hundreds easily. And when it was in the hundreds, I mean, that was a few years ago. I only have a 90-day chart here, and I'm just going off the top of my head. So if what I'm saying is wrong, feel free to roast me. But yeah, it used to be in the hundreds, and it used to move crazy. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers trading Tilray when it was also really expensive in the hundreds. But Tilray and Beyond both, like, you could just get in a position, and within 30 seconds, you could be up 50 to 70%, or you could be down 50 to 75%. So it was really fun to trade back in the day, but recent years, as you can see, it has been hammered down to 67 cents as of today. This is a trash company. They're doing something wrong here fundamentally. I don't know if it's just a bunch of debt or if they have just a massive float. But this is just such a trash company fundamentally, even technically, very trash company. And if you want to talk about fake meat, that's a whole nother discussion, but that stuff is cat food. I wouldn't actually feed it to a cat. That stuff is just worse. But anyways, I digress. Talking about the earnings stock, so Beyond has made 4 moves over 10% in the past 2 years. Keep in mind this share price. Something like this should be 8 out of 8 moves over 10%. The fact that it can only do, because a 10% move off 67 cents is what, that's 6 cents, 7 cents. So the fact that it can't, I'm going to mute my computer, sorry about that. The fact that it can't make a consistent 10% moves at such a cheap share price is shocking to me. That just screams like they're doing something wrong there. And yeah, there's not even any liquid stuff for liquid options for Beyond, so we'll fade it. Anyone that trades Beyond, you are taking a massive risk. I would buy something in the money. I would buy shares, honestly. Don't even trade options on that thing. We move on. Jeffries. So Jeff is, for me, when I see Jeff reporting, it kind of tips me off that a lot of XLF related stocks are going to start reporting soon. I don't think that's the case next week. I don't think the banks are reporting quite yet. Usually Jeff is the first one, and then later in the week or the week after, like JPM, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, all those start reporting. So I don't think that's the case, which is just kind of weird for me. But regardless, Jeff, $40 share price, not, good, not great. It's a $4 move on the 10% move up or down. Bad EL score of 28. The only thing that's helping it there is probably the expected move, I would imagine, and maybe some other factors like share float. But it's only made one 10% move in the past 2 years, and that is really, really poor to me. That's not impressive at all. So off the bat, it's kind of a fade immediately. We'd have to really persuade or convince ourselves to trade something in Jeff. So narrative intel seems like it's good. Seems like there is a merger and acquisition pipeline read across Wall Street. Maybe Jeff gets acquired. That's pretty crazy. That would be really weird. Revenue 18.5% down year over year expected, but that's against a tough Q4 2024 comparison. It looks like the real read is Jeff's deal pipeline and advisory backlog. And then as you can see, like I was mentioning earlier, the fact that Jeff kind of kicks off bank earnings. Jefferies is the canary for broader, looks like bank recovery. So results can move Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, LAZ, JPM, BAC, all those bank stocks in sympathy. But more often than not, Jeff gives us, like you see with this line, Jeff is the canary. So it's the canary in the coal mine for stocks. So really, I think what is important about Jeff earnings is finding out how those could affect JPM earnings, Goldman Sachs earnings. Trading the banks for earnings really hasn't been great in the past few years, but there could be something there. Going down to the strangles, so the 45 call is showing up here, too far out of the money, 13% out of the money up. Decent open interest, but a very cheap contract, so I would imagine these are probably sold. And then 3750p, much better open interest, 10, almost 11,000 contracts were bought or sold and were open on the strike or on the chain prior to today's earnings event. And then traders came in today and bought and sold 3,000, a little over 3,000 of those contracts. So that's good activity. It's a decent priced contract, $1.40. Closer to the money though, I would imagine these are probably bought. Unless you're someone that loves trading banks and financials, and that's really something that you think about on a daily basis with your trading, I would say probably fade Jeff. But if you are someone that, like I said, loves trading JPM, maybe you have XLF shares, maybe you are short XLF, maybe you have a mindset that banks are going to come tumbling down and be replaced by blockchain or whoever, whatever the fact is, then it does look like traders are betting to the downside, a small downside move for Jeff. So that's what it looks like based off of that. Moving on from Jeff, we have Carmen. So Carmen Holdings, this one does interest me a little bit. They are a defense contractor. Looks like they do a lot of, or maybe some space sector stuff, payload protection, deployment systems, aerodynamic interstage systems, and propulsion systems. So maybe they make a little rocket action, who knows? Hypersonic sensors, so it sounds like some rocket stuff. Yeah, testing critical systems for existing and emerging missile and defense. A lot of missiles being used these days, so could be something there. But Carmen interests me because it is only reported 1 quarter prior to this, and that was a 5% move. So it does say 0 out of 8 here, but it's pretty much 0 of 1. So I like kind of trading those newer stocks. I wish that the first quarter they reported was a 10% plus move, but I'm okay with kind of gambling, assuming we can find something quality that will convince us to get in. Narrative intel is good for Carmen, really good. Looks like they have a pretty big funded backlog here. They have a brand new CEO. It looks like this is their CEO's first inaugural call. They are into hypersonics, missile defense, a little space. Looks like they acquired a company called Seaman Composites, which adds Navy submarine composites. I know that submarines are one of the Navy's highest priority projects over the few years, so that seems bullish. PE is pure guidance momentum. Miss could be a painful drop, which is kind of scary because everything just screams bullishness to me there. The strikes, so the 110 call, pretty expensive, right? $570 a contract, so that's $570 for one contract. I wish the volume was higher than open interest, but not bad, especially on kind of a lesser known name. This ADP being 23%, almost 23% out of the money down, $1.65, more volume than open interest. These definitely look sold to me. So looks like people or traders are kind of betting on a small Carmen move up, and they're selling these out of the money puts. But I'm going to put a pin in Carmen, and I want to look at those details in Unusual Whales in just a few minutes. We have more than enough time today. We'll probably end well before 4 p.m. So we'll come back to Carmen, but it looks like a small move up for based on that stuff right now. But we'll come back to it. So the next one, NAVN, Navin Inc. I don't know much about this company. It looks like they're an end-to-end AI-powered software program built to simplify the worldwide business, TNA experience, benefiting leverage. So maybe it looks like they are into business travel and possibly using AI framework to get that job done. Not quite sure. Really cheap stock, $9 a share. EL score not great. The EL score is affected by the cheapness, so to speak, of the share price. So that probably hurts it a lot there. 23% expected move on a $9 stock doesn't really mean much, especially when it hasn't proven that it can consistently move on earnings. Narrative Intel is not great. Binary avoid. So Narrative Intel is telling us to avoid this trade or to size very small. Looks like they compete with Concur, Amex, GBT, corporate travel. Yeah, so they do like corporate travel kind of stuff or expense software. Macro headwinds. Yeah, so I think this one's probably a safe fade. This is interesting though. The 10 call is getting a lot of interest, more volume over open interest. I always like to see that. Pretty cheap contract though, but it's 10% out of the money, which isn't too far out. 750 put getting some activity that is further out of the money down. So this to me definitely looks like they are being sold. So maybe Navin. I mean, I think just because this is proven, I want to look at the earnings history because there are a few stocks that are similar to Carmen and they haven't had a lot of previous quarters to report. So maybe Navin is one of those. I'll look at it in Unusual Whales, but I think it's a fade. Other than that, the 10 call, maybe these are being bought, but I don't know. I think that's probably a safe fade. Moving on to stocks reporting tomorrow morning. We'll look at Lovesac first. And if anyone watching, if anyone has any questions about any of the earnings stocks, or you just want me to open up Unusual Whales and dive into the options chain for a stock that you're in or you're interested in trading, let me know. I'm happy to do that. We did that last Friday or last Thursday with TSM. We noticed some massive TSM in the money puts. And I think a few people that were watching were able to get some TSM puts there and make a quick buck on some scalps. So happy to do any research or kind of look at stuff more in detail. Lovesac. Let me get rid of these really quick. So yeah, Lovesac. So this is it's a very cheap stock, but it does have a good consistent history of moves. So even though it's $11 a share, I like the fact that 6 out of the last 8 quarters, it's made a 10% plus move. That is what attributes to its decently high EL score. And any EL score over 60 starts to pique my interest. Definitely a sleeper. This Lovesac is definitely a stock that can gap 10 to 20% up or down. Looks like they have now maybe they have a pop-up kind of showroom type thing in Costco. It'll be interesting to hear their showroom expansion. Yeah, I think everyone knows Lovesac. They do modular furniture, couches, and that kind of stuff. Looks like they're positioned with zero waste narrative, which is a good catalyst in 2026. Yeah, we want to watch for showroom productivity and online attachment rate. There is high short interest in Love. So if we see some potential positive earnings here or good future guidance, then this is definitely a squeeze candidate on a beat. And because it has a good history of 10% plus moves, that is even more so a possibility. But the strangle is looking a little bearish, I would say. We'll look at the details in Unusual Whales in a second, but the 15 call being 35% out of the money, expiring in a month or expiring on the monthly 417. This looks sold. The 23-cent contract is really cheap. So I would imagine these are sold. The 10p is a little bit more expensive, but honestly, because it's such a cheap stock, really not that far off. So 70 cents, not the greatest volume, not the greatest open interest. I don't know, maybe these are bought as just kind of hedges, but right now this looks uncertain to me. I would imagine a lot of this 15 call volume, or even the open interest, is probably a mix of bought and sold. Maybe there's something there, but let's look at it later in unusual whales and really make up our mind. Love is probably the only one that I'm interested in trading today, other than maybe Carmen. But we'll look at both of those in unusual whales in a second. CMC, or Commercial Metals, manufacturer and supplier of early stage construction materials. So they do like steel reinforcing bars, concrete pipes, precast products. Looks like soil stabilization solutions too. So definitely a good stock. If anyone has seen the Caterpillar stock chart, like the long-term Caterpillar stock chart, that has just been on a tear, just consistently making new all-time highs. So construction is certainly a bullish sector, and things that use steel beams and concrete pipes, like this could fit in well into that narrative. Unfortunately, it has not. CMC has not ever made a 10% move in the past 2 years, so that is very disappointing. Good share price, 61, $62 a share. So if we do get a rare 10% move here, it would be a $6 up and $6 down, maybe a little over $6 either way. But as you can see, the narrative intel is pretty good for CMC, like we were just touching on. A lot of construction is bullish now. Steel tariff, domestic tailwind. Looks like they fully precast acquisitions. So it looks like they acquired a company called Foley Precast. First full quarter contribution. So this will be the first full quarter contribution as a result of this acquisition of a company called Foley Precast. So that'll be interesting, I guess. Gives them a little bit extra juice, a little bit extra ammo in the cylinder to maybe have a 10% surprise move. Quarter one 2026 blew out estimates. Looks like they had almost 18% EPS surprise, 52% year-over-year EBITDA. This is the first quarter with full precast contribution. You can see EBITDA. So steel tariffs widen domestic spreads, moves. So looking at sympathy stocks like STLD, X, NUE, Nucor, all of those are good sympathy plays. Not really seeing anything exciting on the strangle. I wish there was just more volume. The 70 call, 13% out of the money, very cheap. 47.50, 23% out of the money down, also very cheap. More volume on open interest, but that's not saying much because there were just 3 OI. I think CMC is a safe fade. I'm not even really interested to do more research in it. It's just never done a 10% plus move in the past 2 years, so more things to look at other than forcing ourselves for CMC. We'll look at Acumen Pharmaceuticals, very, very, very cheap stock. And again, I wish, because it was that cheap, I wish it had more moves out of 8 quarters over 10%. It doesn't, unfortunately. It's just 3 moves. So that doesn't bode very well for a good move from Acumen. And the reason we always look at 10% plus moves is because we're buying Lottos here. And obviously, the further out of the money you get, the further away from the current share price or the current strike, the more affordable those contracts get. Therefore, the more Lotto pricing they become. So that's why 10% is my threshold for moves, and why I just think it's a good gauge, especially for earnings moves. So that's why I just look at 10% plus moves, but to each their own. Not the greatest narrative intel for Acumen, and not a lot going on here for the strangles. I don't know why the 750. What's the current? Yeah, 750 call is getting. These are totally sold for sure. This is just some really degen stuff happening here. But yeah, I think ABOS or Acumen Pharmaceuticals is a good safe fade as well. Shoe Carnival, family footwear retailer. But yeah, that's like pay less shoes, I guess. That's the way that I kind of see them. $18, almost an $18 share price, $17.85. Only one 10% plus move in the past 2 years, so that's disappointing. Decent narrative intel for Shoe Carnival, 12-year consecutive dividend growth, so it looks like it's more of a dividend stock than anything. Their revenue is down 3.5% year over year, but they did just raise their dividend 13%, 12th straight year, another reminder there. Value footwear is holding up better than premium. Shoe Station Integration Watch can gap in any comp store recovery signal. I think footwear, I think they had pretty good earnings like that. I think it was a good mover on earnings this past quarter. So maybe there's something there. Nike reports next week in case you're into that kind of thing. The strangle for Shoe Carnival, so the 20 call coming in a little over 10% out of the money. Not enough volume or open interest to really say or make me do anything there. And the 1750p, much closer to the current price, a little higher of a premium on that contract. So these are probably bought, I would say, but not the greatest volume and really bad open interest. So Shoe Carnival, I think, is a safe fade as well. Don't really care about doing any research on that. White fiber, no moves over 10% in the past 2 years. Very cheap stock at a little under $14.50 a share. Not the greatest narrative intel. And the 1750 call, this is probably being sold, being 19% out of the money. Decent volume, decent open interest, but I think fading Wi-Fi or white fiber is a good idea. I think you're forcing yourself getting in there. And then Pony is the last one we'll look at. So it's an AI company. I think they are a Chinese AI company. Yeah. Group conducts its operations mainly in the People's Republic of China and the United States through subsidiaries. Say that 5 times fast. Key revenue is generated from the People's Republic of China. So they make most of their money in China. Cheap stock, 11.24. I think this stock came out, like, I don't know if it IPO'd, but I remember them not having any quarterly report history, and then all of a sudden they do. So we'll have to, I'm pretty sure this moves number is accurate, but we'll double check and I'll look at unusual whales just for certain. But I'm pretty sure Pony has never made a 10% plus up or down move in 2 years. I think pretty safe to say that. Looks like they might be into like robo-taxis a little bit. Autonomous vehicles. Yeah, so maybe they do more like autonomous vehicle stuff, robo-taxis. I know people use those robo-taxis here in the States. Actually, at my local grocery store, for some reason, the first level has a bunch of EV charging stations. And anytime I go in there at night, it's just Waymos just lined up, just all over the place. Imagine having to sit there for 20 minutes while your car charges. That just doesn't make any sense to me. You might as well do it like, if you have an EV, the only way to do that is like, you have to own a house, you have to own a home, hook it up there, or if you have an apartment complex that has EV charging stations. But that just doesn't, it seems like we're just not there yet infrastructure wise. And I would never get in a robo-taxi ever. That's just, you're putting yourself in a poor situation there. So yeah, Gen 7 robotaxi hit in Guangzhou, Shenzhen, targeting 3,000 vehicle fleet. So, I mean, it looks like they're producing a lot of robotaxis in China. Reports tomorrow morning pretty early. 2 Chinese cities now profitable per vehicle. That's interesting. I mean, it looks like maybe the EV, well, I mean, we know for fact and for certain that the EVs in China are just hands down better quality, better efficiency than the American EVs. So possibly the robo-taxi kind of stuff occurs more frequently in China. There's probably more peace of mind with the Chinese because they can see that their EVs are higher quality and just better vehicles. So that could be a reason why robo-taxis are more popular in China. But that is interesting how 2 Chinese cities are now profitable per vehicle for Pony AI. That's interesting to me. The strangles coming in, so the 1150 call, very close to the money. Good volume over open interest. I would say these are probably bought. And the 11p, also pretty close to the money. More volume than open interest. I would say these are probably bought too, if I had to guess. But I do want to look at the details in unusual whales, so we'll check that out. So that wraps up the stocks that are reporting this afternoon and tomorrow morning. Let's do a little bit of in the weeds research on unusual whales and see if maybe we can find a good stock to play today. So let's start with Carmen because we said we would do that. And as you can see, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, as you can see here, only one quarter history so far, and it was a 5% down move. But only because it's just one quarter, I don't think that we need to rely on that too much. Let's see, the strangle that was pulling in for Carmen is the 110 call in the ADP. So the 110 call, and yeah, we were right. You only have monthly, so these are monthly expiration. 110 call is certainly getting bought. What's up, Chuck Zito? T-Glow is the best stock of all time. T-Glow. T-Glow was my first big penny trade win. And it was so big that I still have shares left over from T-Glow. And that was literally over a decade ago. But yeah, T-Glow is like a weird LNG type company in Louisiana. If you want to do research, it's called Delphin, DELFIN, LNG. Anyways, Carmen 110 looks like they're being bought. This is a big candle. This was on the 24th. So 800 contracts on the ask, a little over 450K there. That seems bullish. This order seems bearish. This was on the 17th. 690 contracts. So again, another $400,000 order on the bid. That's very uncertain there. I can't really glean a lot from it off the bat. Let's look at the ADP. Maybe the ADP offers a little bit better of an idea of what's going on. And the ADP, yeah, the ADP doesn't have a ton of liquidity in it. So Carmen does look like a move up. I would imagine it's probably a small move up. And an affordable lotto price contract would probably be something like the 125, right? The 125 at around like $2. What is it? Yeah, 213-ish. What was it? Yeah, low 180. So between like 170 and $2, that's what it seems like for the lotto for 125. So I think Carmen's a safe fade. I'm not seeing anything in here that's really screaming anything. There's just not a lot of premium on the put side. Like if you look at this premium, so 8,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? If you look at that premium for the 75p compared to the 110 call, 79K, 459K, 458K, 25K, 16K. So there's just way more, another 16K. There's just way more premium and liquidity on the call side. So Carmen traders definitely think up, but I think that's a safe fade. If it gets a 10% play, if it goes to 125, then incredible. I love that, but I doubt it. I think it looks like it's getting maybe a 110 move, maybe a little under 110. So Carmen, I think it's safe to fade. Let's look at Love. Love is kind of the one that I wanted to focus on if I had to pick for this afternoon. So we'll check that out. Strangles, 15 call, 10p, 15 call. So the 15 call got bought on the 24th, which was yesterday. So good volume there, 250,000. Almost 3,000 contracts at the ask for the 15 call. And then today it looks like there was a little bit of bid activity, but nothing compared to what was on the ask for yesterday. So Love is looking bullish. Let's see what the P side was, the 10p. Love certainly looks like calls. Certainly looks like calls. I think if you do trade Love, it makes sense to strangle because remember, this is a 6 out of 8 mover. So anything that has 6 or more moves, I would say 5 or more moves, you should strangle it. So Chewy, it made sense to strangle. Braze, it made sense to strangle. But what we do is we skew our contracts to one side, and you have more contracts, more call contracts in the Braze and Chewy scenario than puts. So I think Love is looking like a good strangle. Let's look at the contract charts in really quick. But I might be taking a Love sack strangle skewed to the call side. 15 is pretty far out of the money though. Like why wouldn't you buy at 12.50 when it's just 10 cents more? Why wouldn't you? Why not us? It's not bad. I mean, if I trade it, I'm going to trade the 1250. Why would I buy the 15? I'm not going to buy like 100 contracts. The 15. The 1250 looks better than the 15, obviously. The 15 can still work. Let's look at the 10. The 10p, the 10p could work too. I think if you strangle this, you strangle it with even contracts. So you get the same amount of puts that you get the same amount of calls. And I think you go light. So I'm going to get a 1250 call. And then $12.50 call. What is this? Love. Love sack. 12.50. They are April 17th, so that's good. It gives us enough time to kind of wait for it to work out. Let's do... I'm going to do more... No, I'm going to do straight up even strangle. Doesn't make sense to go anything more than that. Okay, so we'll do a love strangle, even quantity of contracts. And then let's look at all right, and now what do we want to see? Did we want to look at pony? Let's look at pony because I'm just kind of curious on that. So I like the love strangle. I think it's hard to say. I think the call side looks better, but I think sizing those even makes sense just based on how the contract charts look. Obviously, there's much more liquidity and premium on the call side. So take that for what it's worth. Okay, so pony I was right. So it's only reported 1, 2, 3 quarters before. 3 of those quarters were all under 10% moves. So it hasn't made a good 10% move on earnings yet. Maybe this is the first one. Maybe since those 2 cities in China have achieved profitability per vehicle, maybe this is it. We wanted to look at the 327, 1150, and 10. Looks like they have weekly. So the 1150. There's a lot on the bid here. 41K. I wish there was more premium than 41K, but the 11, I don't know. I think this is a safe fade. Nothing is really screaming one way or the other. There's just not enough premium on here. I don't know if you can see this, but 6,000, 1,000, 1,000, 5,000. And then on the call side, it was a little bit better, but 41K on the 11. Yeah, I think pony is probably a safe fade. The out of the money stuff, not a lot of liquidity there, not a lot of premium. So I think it's safe to fade pony. If you want to gamble, then maybe gamble some pony. Nah, I don't think it's a gamble. There is a lot of ask activity on puts, which is interesting. But I think pony's a safe fade. So the only one I'm going to get into, which I got into, is love. I'm going to do the 1250 call. Where is this? I'm going to do the 1250, even though the 15 is showing on the website. I'm going to do the 1250 call and the 10p even size contracts. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then we move on. No FOMO. And we can't be mad because we put ourselves in one of the higher quality setups for earnings today, which is a 6 out of 8 mover. It's a very, very cheap stock, but I like the fact that it's done 6 out of 8 moves over 10% up or down. So those are the ones for this afternoon and tomorrow morning. I don't think I have any pick'ems for today. Oh, we do. We have love. We had love. Let's do up. I feel pretty good about the love up move. Let's put 500 on it. Let me get back over 10K. Please, earnings gods. Let's place it. All right. So I got the love up in. Okay, so yeah, love, sack, strangle. I like the call side a little bit more, but I would go even contracts, even size on the 1250 call and 10p. And we will roll the dice. If it hits, it hits. If it doesn't, then there are always opportunities. There are always earnings plays. Next week is a new week. We also have some interesting ones for tomorrow. So I will be back here same time tomorrow afternoon around 3 p.m. Eastern. Chuck Zito says love is in the air. Love, I hope love is in the air. Tomorrow morning, I hope love is rocketing in the air. I hope love is blasting off in the air. So yeah, love strangle. That's what I like today. Everything else I think is a safe fade. If you want to fade love, I think that's love sack. If you want to fade love sack stock, I think that's a smart move too. So again, thank you for watching. Please like this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Let's boost those numbers up. Get on the website, register for an account, play earnings pick'em with us. I can't be. I'm close. I'm getting closer to the leaderboard. How are you going to let me win? That's crazy. Timbo Flip is the earnings pick'em king. But anyways, thank you for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Good luck in your trades. We have initial jobless claims news tomorrow morning, and if I'll get back on tomorrow. But have a great rest of your day. I will talk to you later. Peace, everyone.